Hello, my name is Ahskance. I'm gonna be honest, I'm very tired. I made a CC video yesterday to kind of give background information about all the stuff that's going on. Put it up, there's been a lot of conversation around it. I answered comments. I have spent a lot of time talking with people, reading discords, looking at, I'm out CC videos and stuff that I've kind of come to at least a basic understanding, I believe, of the situation, kind of how it started, what the Nexus event was, and how it was after. So this is kind of like, Ahskance investigates per se, but that's literally what I'd like to do. I'm going to put it into 3 parts. Part 1 is going to be the before times. Part 2 is going to be the Nexus event, at least what I think is the Nexus event. And then part 3 is going to be the aftermath. And it's just, I think this is kind of a timeline, or at least a general explanation or conceptual understanding of what's going on. And yeah, I figure maybe it's interesting, so hey, I'll throw it out there. Part 1, the golden times. So Little White Mouse was, I guess she was the first CC, because she was some kind of CC-ish thing before CCs existed. So I don't know what that was. I didn't play back then. I started playing in 2019, which was after the CV rework hat. I think it was in April, because I remember there being like April 1st stuff in the armory that I'd missed that event. But so the CC program started and the game was new. And if I understand correctly, because I've heard a lot of CC stay stuff like this, they joined the program. Wargaming was really hand in glove. They're really together. They're kind of on the same wavelength. They're doing the same thing. They're both, we really like this game. We want to see the game push forward. So, cool. And what that means is that when CCs were in the Discord, or I don't know, having interactions with Wargaming, if I understand correctly, the CC program, it does as I portrayed in the other video. It gives some dubs, it gives some test ships, it gives some basic content and stuff to help a content creator create content and interact with their community. But there was also a feedback channel or a feedback interaction that seemed to just be really powerful at that time. CCs talked with the devs and the devs talked back. They had conversations about things that resulted in change or moves in the game. CCs were really excited to be part of it. I think the devs were probably really excited to be part of it. And, the game grew. The game got known better. The game grew. People loved the game. They told other people about the game. CCs grew. It was all one big, massive, uplifting, shores riding, all boats rising, etc. for the first several years. The only thing I've heard, and I realize nostalgia can be a thing, but I've only heard good things about the first 3 or 4 years or something of World of Warships. So I have to assume that this same wavelength, hand-in-glove connection was really powerful. And just like there are some people that watch me, and if they get a chance to talk to me, they're like, holy crap, get to talk to the dude that I've, watched and stuff. I would have to guess that some of Wargaming people might actually look at CCs like, holy crap, I get to hang out with CCs. This is so cool. Because of how closely, again, interwoven. I've been doing this multiple times kind of as a visual representation of the fact that they were really in sync from what I've heard. So that's the golden times. Well, if that was the golden times, what comes after? Well, this would be part 2, the Nexus event. I watched Loki recently. It's pretty good. You should watch it. It's on Disney Plus. Can recommend. I like Marvel. So what is a Nexus event? A Nexus event is where the things start to skew apart. And suddenly, 1 becomes 2. And I have to guess that Nexus event started, or at least the part that moved toward the Nexus event, happened before I joined the community, before I started playing the game. I think what the Nexus event was the CV rework. CV rework was something that Wargaming put time and effort into. They did the thing. I don't know how it was previewed before it came out. I think there was a CC Summit in 2018, but I don't know any information from it happening. I haven't seen any streams or stuff online about it. There might be, but I haven't watched it, so I don't know. But 2018, theoretically, Wargaming would have been working on it. They probably would have been in some form of communication with their community contributors at that time. And the long and the short of it was, people, whether people liked it or not, they might have been willing to go with it until it all shit the bed. And how did it shit the bed? Well, the CVs were tested on the PTS, but they weren't balanced on the PTS. They were put on the PTS, there were a bunch of bugs, and oh shit, well, we can't balance on a buggy client that's not working, so we have to fix the bugs. So that's what they did. They took it off, they fixed the bugs, they put them back, and nobody showed up. Nobody tested it. They didn't get the balance information they needed because they didn't have people on the PTS to give them the balance information they needed. So, as a famous broadcaster once said, fuck it, we'll do it live. And that's what they did. They put carriers on the live server, shoved them into random battles, and then suddenly, bam, there they were in all their glory, all their unbalanced glory. Now, Wargaming needed the data to be able to balance them, and Wargaming usually takes about 2 or 3 patches to accumulate data before they start balancing. So that means that you had something come out in a state that was not fit for release for months at a time before any moves were made, any changes or codes or alterations or something were started, because that's the process of data gathering feedback that the company uses. Although I don't know how long they've used that version of data gathering, etc. So I've seen community contributor feedback from that time and era, and a whole lot of it was, fuck this shit. Fuck these CVs, fuck this shit, hate this, don't like this, this is bad, this is not the game that, we've been working on, this is not the game that we've built on, this is not the place that we wanted it to go, we don't like this, make this go away, this is bad, we hate this, no. And Wargaming didn't do it, because they just invested a lot of time and effort into changing this, they believed in the change, and yeah, there was some pushback from the community contributors, but they hadn't balanced it yet. They needed the data, they needed the time, they needed to alter the code, they needed to get the interactions and stuff there. So, you weather the storm, you get through the rain so that you can get to the other side. You can get to your destination where hopefully it's going to be sunny again. Well, how did that end up? So, there was a 2019 CC Summit where Wargaming literally flew community contributors from all around the world to Russia so that they could, meet up and they could present information about what's going on, where they're taking the game, how the game is doing, their thoughts on the game, their design practices, release all this information to the CCs who they'd had a close working relationship with for years at that point. And that's exactly what happened. But I got to hear about a conversation where there was a CC who was in the room, and his thought was, why are we being lectured? Why are we being told, well, CVs are more okay than you think they are? Why are we being told that if we're telling you this is terrible, we don't fucking want it, this is not our game, this is not what we want, this is nothing that we're interested in, why are you telling us that, no, believe us, it's not as bad as you think, just be okay with this, please, we're getting there, this is the process we're following, follow us here. And you had a Nexus event. You had a split. What does that mean? It means that 2 things. Wargaming went in their direction, while the CCs wanted to continue in theirs. And there's another thing that happened. The CCs in Wargaming weren't communicating in terms of feedback anymore. It wasn't CC says this and Wargaming responds, and Wargaming says this and CCs respond. No, it wasn't that anymore. It was 2 different paths. And there's a distance growing between those 2 paths. The entire purpose of the 2019 CC Summit with regards to carriers was to spend 45-something minutes identifying these are the issues that we're currently encountering, these are the ways that we're going to try to fix them, this is what our goal is, and yet those words just didn't cross that divide. And the CC's words of, fuck this shit, we don't want it, get rid of it, didn't cross that divide either. So, further and further apart they go. After the summit, Wargaming got to see time after time after time of community contributors releasing content about just how effing terrible Wargaming was. They're not listening to us. They're telling us that this is fine. They're doing this, etc. Basically lambasting it. They brought us all the way to Russia to tell us everything is fine and to tell us spreadsheet this and yada yada. Again, it's just more divide. So what does that end up resulting in? CCs are now giving their feedback, which they got used to doing. And my personal belief is that the CC program wasn't intentionally designed about CCs and wargaming devs working together in happy harmony. It was designed to support the community contributors. But if you've been in a situation where you've been able to give feedback for 2-3 years at this time and have honest, easygoing conversations with people that you consider to be peers in your industry or in your environment, and then that just all dries up. I mean, what do? If you're in a relationship with somebody and you can't talk to each other anymore, what do? Maybe the bills are getting paid. Maybe the jobs are getting covered. Maybe the kids are being looked after. But how do you have a good experience if you can't talk? The answer is you don't. And you start having resentment. You start getting anger. You start getting bad blood. The Nexus event, for me, was the 2019 CC Summit, where Wargaming invited community contributors to come, listen, this is our goal, this is our idea, this is where we're going, believe us, we're trying, we would like to go in a good direction, we want to help the game move forward, and we think this is the direction that it goes. And CC said, you're not listening to us. We've told you time and time and time and time and time and time and time again that this is not the way that we want the game to go. This is not what we spent the last 2 years and 3 years building the game for. We want it to go in this direction. And that was when they left. 3, the aftermath. So what happened after the 2019 CC Summit? You had videos lambasting Wargaming. You had anger about the Naval Research Center, which became the Research Bureau, was altered to that. And in general, community contributors constantly found pieces of the wargaming plan that they didn't agree with, and they kept saying, we don't agree with this, over and over and over again. And the community agreed, no, we don't agree with this either. We agree with, the person that we watch and hang out with, and he makes good sense, and we listen to him, and he tells me this doesn't work, etc. And the community and such get further driven apart. We start seeing, there was the Rogue Wave event where the Venom was released that was hilariously grindy. I did that grind, but it was a lot of grind, especially for a new player. Holy shit, I'd only played for like 5 months or something by that point. And then there was the Puerto Rico grind. Well, I knew this was a free-to-play game, but holy shit, that's quite a lot. And then that resulted in, I think, Sub-Octavian making comments about like, well, people are home, what do you expect? I mean, this is something. But the Puerto Rico grind was like a violation of trust, or treated like a violation of trust, because one, Wargaming had said, we're not going to sell tier 10 ships, and now they're selling tier 10 ships. And the devilish amount of grind that's going on here was just startlingly shocking. Like, this is not something that the game players had ever seen before. This is new. This is not something we want. And then there was this weird time-based mechanic thing about you have to finish the stages in a certain period of time if you want to get to the end, and realistically you might not make it to the end, and then you have to spend money to get to the end. Isn't that kind of shady as fuck? And then after the Puerto Rico, there was the Commander rework, and people didn't like that. And then after that, there was the subs were announced. And are you shitting me? You said subs would never be here, but now there are subs, and then they're in the PTS and etc. And just more and more. And oh, we still don't like CVs, but now they're in clan battles. And there's this constant path. Now I'm a CC. For all intents and purposes, I hopped on this train here. I didn't know about this. I got to hear about it on the forums. I got to experience it through being in the community. But this is where I started the game. And for the most part, I've been along this path. So I understand this path. I like game design, I can see it, etc. So yes, I can't speak to the situation that the CCs on the other side have had, but you also have to understand, when I entered the CC program, I never looked at a feedback channel as though I was going to have some magical, sharp connection with the developers and we were going to work as one to make a better game. I just joined the CC program because, one, it was a mark of validation for me, which I personally really liked, and two, I got to be able to ask questions to the devs, and I just thought that was so cool, and I still do. I respect the developers for this game because I think the game is great. Obviously, there's a lot of disagreement on this point. Obviously. But for me, personally, some people have said, aren't you going to leave the CC community? Why haven't you done this? Because for me, I'm not on the other side of the Nexus event, I guess. And this is going to sort itself out, but probably the people over here, they may not see the way back. There may be more people that resign in the future. I don't know. But as for what it is, that's the beginning, that's the Nexus event, and that's the aftermath. And now we're here. So is it either A, Wargaming figures a way to find its way back, or Wargaming is far enough along this path that they're just going to continue doing what they're doing, and rather than try to somehow bridge this, they just find people that are on that path as well? I don't know what they're going to do. Hopefully they make a statement. Hopefully they make a statement soon that gives some kind of illumination as to how they feel about the situation and where they intend to take the game. All I know about where they intend to take the game now is, well, where the updates go and what they say they're going to be releasing next. Hopefully it's not in the direction of crazy amounts of loot boxes and random bundles and all sorts of grindy crap. I would prefer if they're just upfront in terms of transactions and stuff, but as far as subs and carriers and all that stuff, I mean, personally, I'm on board with it. So this is Ahskance. I hope that was useful. I guess it got a little waxing philosophical / personal at the end, but I am very tired because I have literally spent hours diving into this topic over the last 24 something hours, and I hope it was useful for you. Have a good one.